Hey guys, this is Luis Acres. I know. I'm here with one more video, guys. This is another experience I had throughout my life, and I feel like I want to just share it with you guys. So when I was a little kid, now this is not about peanut allergies. Right? Now when I was a little kid, well, first of all, guys, welcome back. The title of this video is going to be called "My Hearing Loss Resolved" on its own. Coming up. I know. I had hearing loss before. It wasn't a severe hearing loss. Don't worry about it. Hello, guys. My name is Luis Acres. So, when I was a little kid, I would get tested for my hearing every year. When I was in preschool, in kindergarten, obviously, elementary school, I would get tested for hearing evaluation or just a regular, simple hearing test every year. So, remember at school when they used to tell you know what? We're going to play a set of beeps. The beeps will get softer and softer. I just want you to raise your hand when you hear the beep. The beeps are going to get softer until you can no longer hear them no more. Remember how the hearing test went and then they tell you we're going to tell you a set of words. The words are going to get softer and softer until you can no longer hear them no more. So I would get tested every year for my hearing, right? Now, I've always had excessive cerumen or earwax since I was a little kid, okay? I've always produced a lot of earwax. But separate from that, in 2007 and 2008 especially, this got worse. I was diagnosed with flat tympanogram, or what they call eustachian tube problems, or what they call fluid in the middle ear, okay? Now, when it gets to a type B tympanogram, because remember when I was talking to you in the video about those tympanograms, right? So I was diagnosed with type B tympanogram, which is more serious now. Now, I never had an ear infection or pain, but I did have fluid in my middle ear. Okay. So my mom would take me to a lot of different ear specialists. She took me to an otolaryngologist, and they wanted to put tubes in my ears without anesthesia. And I was only 11 years old. Can you guys believe that? They were starting to just clean my ear out because they have to completely clean your ear out before they can put the tubes in. I was moving oh, stop. I was freaking out of the pain. And the doctors were we're going to start with one ear, see if he lets himself. And I was they were just cleaning the inside of my ear because before they insert the tubes, they got to clean out your ears completely, right? Make sure there's no wax, whatever. That's the way they did it. And I was freaking out. I was moving because it was painful. They wanted to insert the tubes without anesthesia. I'm you got to be Superman for that. I don't think anyone could do that. And the doctor's you know what? I'm sorry about this, Mom, but we're not going to be able to insert tubes in his ears because he's moving too much and it can be painful. It was just a little pinch, but it can be painful when they insert that. And the other thing is, once they insert tubes in your ears, they got to be extra care, which means you cannot get your ears wet. In the pool, you can't even swim. You must wear hearing protection. There is a lot of care when you wear hearing tubes or ear tubes, or what they call eustachian tube regulating tubes. They wanted to put ear tubes in my ears without anesthesia. Can you guys believe it? That is ridiculous. I was freaking out. And I had to go to school that day. It was freaky. I'm really, doctors? Anyways, so years passed by and I was always diagnosed now with type C tympanogram, which is negative middle ear pressure. Now my hearing, they said it was pretty normal. Now I did have a mild hearing loss in most of the exams they did, right? Throughout the years, but I was always diagnosed with eustachian tube problems, or what they call negative ear pressure. Okay, so I was always diagnosed with mild hearing loss and eustachian tube dysfunction. So anyways, I graduated from high school, and I'm talking about when I was 18 years old. So time passed by. One day, my ears were feeling really clogged up. But I was to the point where my hearing loss was getting pretty bad. It was a moderate hearing loss, almost a severe hearing loss. I had trouble hearing people around me, so this was getting to the point where it was pretty bad. My eustachian tube dysfunction got much worse that day. I was to the point where it's kind of weird when you really can't hear well because you almost feel like you're disoriented when I'm already blind and I'm like walking around and I was having trouble like hearing people around me. I would ask people to crank up their voice and repeat themselves. So I was also having a really bad earwax impaction. My ears were literally just chock a block full of wax. Now we probably YouTubers kind of laugh about that, but my ears were literally just clogged up. Okay, like that day I was like, I just couldn't enjoy anything because everything sounded muffled. Even people's voices, like it was just hard to hear. I would tell everybody, crank up your voice. I'm sorry, what? I can't hear you. And it was pretty annoying. Now I try not to use Q-tips because they just push wax in deeper and you create more trauma. So one day I asked my parents or myself to irrigate my ears. My mom was able to get part of the earwax out, but there was still a little bit of wax in there. Now they got a good amount out. My mom got a pretty big amount of earwax out, but there was still some in there. And I told myself, now I always had this bad habit when I was little. I would do this. I would sniff in instead of blowing my nose out. And I was thinking maybe that was creating my ear problems or my negative ear pressure. So one day, the next day when I cleaned my ears out, I was like, oh, I could hear a little bit better now. I can definitely hear people around me. Sounds a little bit different. The world's a little bit different now. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try the Valsalva maneuver, which means I'm going to gently grab 2 fingers, pinch my nose gently, and blow out. Now, I was like, I want to regulate my ear pressure to see if it makes a difference. Now, I was always diagnosed with eustachian tube dysfunction or flat tympanitis. Now, that day I blew out my nose and I could tell a big difference in my hearing. The world was just incredibly loud. I almost felt like I was hyperacusive. Like everything was just like exploding inside my head. Like the world was just so loud. Like it almost sounded like a different world. I was inside my house and traffic sounded like a train. I could perfectly hear the refrigerator. I would close myself in the bathroom, when I need to use the bathroom. I could almost hear it in the bathroom. My hearing was incredible. And I think that my bad habit when I was little of sniffing in my nose instead of blowing it out was really causing differences in my ears. Now, I still had a little bit of earwax, even with the incredible difference in hearing. So I went to the doctor that day. They just lavaged it. There was still some pretty big pieces in there, but there wasn't very much. It wasn't a whole lot of earwax. There wasn't really much of a difference, but I could definitely tell the difference. So I was like, you know what? At the University of Arizona, they do hearing evaluations. I want to go get a hearing test, see if I'm normal now. I want to see if my hearing is now normal. All right, because I would always freak out about them telling me, you know what? You have hearing problems. Yeah, whatever. And one year I went to the U of A. It was with my wonderful teacher at school. He used to do the hearing test. Now, you guys probably know her. Her name is Fatty Bearcat. Okay, some of you might know her, some of you might not. And I got the hearing evaluation, and believe it or not, everything came out normal. I got a type A tympanogram. I got a 5 or a -5 on my speech recognition threshold, which is a very good hearing threshold. Now, the normal hearing range of, what do they call it? The speech recognition threshold is about 25 decibels, and I got about a -5 or a 5, I think it was, on the scoreboard. So, guys, my hearing resolved on its own, thankfully, or whatever I did to resolve my hearing loss. Guys, these people and the doctor are just ridiculous. They wanted to put my tubes in my ears without anesthesia. Isn't that ridiculous? I would have suffered pain and probably I would have had more complications in life. And my hearing loss resolved on its own with just a little care, cleaning out my ears and doing that Valsalva maneuver. So I recommend when you guys, unless you don't have a recommendation from your doctor, but if you guys feel like your ears are clogged up, just simply from negative pressure or you're stuffed up, don't ever suck your nose